Chosen one. You have no idea how rare you are in the spiritual design of heaven. You see, most people are born into time, but you were sent into time. Before your name ever appeared on a birth certificate, it was whispered in a throne room. That means your existence had to be approved by the highest authority before it ever manifested on earth. And not everyone receives that approval. You didn't just come through your parents, you came through the permission of God's throne. Your calling had to be evaluated, refined, and cleared at a level beyond what human understanding could ever interpret. You were not selected by chance, you were certified by heaven's throne room standard. And that's why your life has always felt like it operates outside the world's normal rhythm. You've never fully fit in. You've never been able to compromise your spirit just to be accepted. And deep down, even in your darkest nights, there's always been this inner knowing that your path is not random, it's divinely calculated. You were chosen beyond probability. Every statistic said you shouldn't have made it this far. The enemy calculated your downfall before you were 10 years old. Hell drew up blueprints to break your spirit early, to silence your voice, to bury your potential. But something stood between you and destruction. A throne decision that overruled every earthly outcome. When heaven decides a calling, it's not open for human debate. You were approved by a kingdom that never makes a mistake. And that approval carries a spiritual weight that can't be faked, copied, or manufactured. That's why even when you've been rejected by people, you've still been protected by God. Even when you didn't have favor in the room, you still had clearance from the throne. You see, what you carry isn't just a dream, it's a royal authorization. And that's why the warfare has been so unrelenting. You were never fighting people, you were wrestling principalities who saw the stamp of heaven's approval on you. This is why, chosen one, your story looks strange. Why the journey feels impossible. Because what was birthed in the throne room will always face resistance in the earth realm. But what's authored by heaven cannot be revoked by hell. You carry something that has already passed heaven's inspection. And that makes you unstoppable, even in your human weakness. The throne doesn't hand out callings casually. Before God releases a chosen one, He puts their spirit through a process that often feels like exile. You've been through what others would call unfair seasons. But in heaven's language, those were qualification seasons. You were tested in silence, when no one noticed your obedience. You were tested in pain, when you kept forgiving those who didn't deserve it. You were tested in delay, when your prayers seemed unanswered yet you still believed. Each test was a hidden measurement of your spiritual maturity. You see, heaven doesn't test to humiliate, heaven tests to verify. And that's what most people don't understand. You weren't being punished, you were being proven. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every false accusation, it was heaven's way of saying, let's see if they can handle divine weight without losing divine character. Because if the throne will trust you with power, it must first see how you handle powerlessness. If the throne will trust you with influence, it must first see how you behave when you're invisible. If the throne will trust you with authority, it must first see if you can stay humble in the face of humiliation. That's the throne room standard. Not perfection, but faithfulness. Not brilliance, but endurance. Not loudness, but quiet loyalty. You see, God doesn't measure by appearances. He measures by what remains when everything else breaks. And that's why you passed the test. Not because you always got it right, but because you never gave up. You kept walking when others quit. You kept praying when you couldn't feel God's presence. You stayed pure in spirit when bitterness was easier. And in that obedience, your calling gained heaven's seal. That's why some doors are about to open without explanation. That's why favor is about to locate you in rooms you didn't even know existed. Because your spiritual resume carries throne room approval. You didn't hustle for this, you qualified for it. And the moment heaven marks you as ready, no earthly system can block what's been authorized. Chosen one. There comes a time when heaven's validation begins to show itself, not in words, not in applause, but through unmistakable spiritual signs. They're quiet, but they're powerful. They don't always make sense to the mind, but your spirit feels them, because they carry the fragrance of divine approval. You may not have realized it, but the signs have already been unfolding around you. Each one is heaven's subtle way of saying, "You passed the test. You carry my seal. You're ready for what's next. Let's go deeper." Have you noticed that the moment you started walking in obedience, life seemed to get harder? The moment you said, "Yes, Lord, use me," it felt like all hell broke loose. That's not a coincidence. That's the first sign. When your calling passes the throne room standard, the enemy is alerted. Because now, heaven has officially authorized you, and that means you've become a threat in the spirit realm. Every chosen one experiences this. Moses did when Pharaoh doubled the workload. David did when Saul turned against him. Jesus did when the crowds turned to crucify him. The moment heaven promotes you, hell mobilizes against you. But the good news? That increase in warfare is actually proof of your clearance level. You were found worthy of greater resistance, because heaven trusts you with greater responsibility. So don't panic when opposition rises. It's not a sign you're failing, it's a sign you've been approved. When heaven promotes you, it doesn't send emails, it rearranges relationships. You might wake up one day and realize that certain people have drifted away. Conversations that once flowed suddenly stop. Friendships that once felt easy suddenly feel heavy. And you think, "What did I do wrong?" But child of God, you didn't do anything wrong. They simply didn't pass the frequency test of your next season. When your calling passes the throne room standard, God starts pruning your environment. Not because He's cruel, but because not everyone can breathe in the altitude of divine assignment. Some were only meant to walk with you until a certain elevation. And when the air of your destiny gets thinner, only those with purified lungs can continue. Let them go in peace. Their exit is not rejection, it's divine release. Because heaven is making room for those who match your new spiritual oxygen level. It's subtle but undeniable. You no longer enjoy the things that once entertained you. You crave silence over noise. You'd rather sit with God than scroll through distractions. That's not isolation, that's realignment. When your calling passes the throne room standard, heaven begins detoxing your appetite. The Spirit of God starts pulling you away from surface-level things because your soul is now tuned to deeper frequencies. You start to feel a heaviness around things that lack purpose. And while others chase comfort, you crave clarity. While others want platforms, you want presence. It's the sign of maturity. Your spirit has outgrown the world's rhythm. You're no longer running with the crowd. You're being positioned for the kingdom. You might notice this paradox. Blessings and battles showing up at the same time. One day, a door opens you never prayed for. The next day, you face emotional warfare that makes no sense. That's because when your calling passes the throne room test, both heaven and hell recognize your anointing. Heaven endorses you with favor. Hell tries to frustrate you with fatigue. But here's the revelation. Both reactions prove the same thing. You've been activated. You've stepped out of potential and into purpose. And the world around you is adjusting to your divine frequency. That's why you must not interpret warfare as a curse, interpret it as confirmation. Because where there is anointing, there is attention, both divine and demonic. And you carry both because you matter. There's this calm, unshakable awareness that no matter what happens, somehow, you'll be okay. It's not arrogance. It's spiritual memory. Your spirit remembers the throne room conversation that your mind has forgotten. It remembers when God said, "I'm sending you into time for a purpose only you can fulfill." And every time you're in danger or confusion, that divine memory whispers through your soul, "Don't fear. You're covered. You were chosen for this." You might not know how things will work out, but you know they will. That's the peace that surpasses understanding. It's the evidence that your life has already been previewed in heaven, and the ending is secure. You start to receive confirmations that only make sense in the spirit. Numbers that repeat. Scriptures that appear at the exact moment you need them. Dreams that feel more like instructions than imagination. And even when you share them, others don't always understand, because they weren't in the throne room conversation where your path was decided. But you don't need their understanding. You just need your obedience. Because when heaven approves your calling, It will send signs before it sends stages. It will whisper through circumstances, align divine timings, and guide you through invisible hands. Every coincidence you've experienced wasn't random, it was choreography. Heaven has been ordering your steps, teaching you to walk by faith and not by sight. Something in you changed. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself. You're not chasing recognition or fighting to be seen. You've realized that the spotlight of heaven is more valuable than the stage of man. You've shifted from performance to presence. That's a sign of elevation. Because once your calling passes heaven's inspection, you stop striving, and you start gliding under grace. You know you don't need to outshine anyone. Your light already has divine timing. You're not competing anymore, you're completing the will of God, the mission of heaven, the version of yourself you were always meant to become. Chosen one. These signs are not random. They are records of approval. Each one is heaven's quiet. Well done. You didn't imagine it. You didn't overthink it. You have indeed been seen, verified, and stamped by the highest throne. And now, the same God who tested you in private is preparing to trust you in public. The same God who hid you for a season is about to highlight you for a reason. You passed the throne room standard. And from this point on, your steps are not just ordered, they are orchestrated. Every movement you make carries heaven's backing. Every word you speak carries divine signature. You've entered the stage where the invisible becomes visible. Because your life has officially been approved by heaven. Now you might still ask, why me, Lord? Why not someone more qualified, more connected, more experienced? Because God doesn't choose the predictable. He chooses the improbable. He picks those who have nothing to prove, so His glory has everything to display. You were chosen beyond probability because God wanted to break the pattern. He wanted to show the world that His favor doesn't follow logic, it follows faith. You weren't the loudest voice. You weren't the most visible name. But heaven saw something invisible, a consistency that never craved applause. You were chosen because of what didn't change when everything else did. Because when the enemy tried to corrupt you with temptation, you fought back with truth. Because when people mistreated you, you loved them anyway. Because when you could have compromised, you stayed true to the assignment. You see, God's throne doesn't just search for skill, it searches for alignment. And you, chosen one, aligned with heaven when it cost you comfort. You aligned with purpose when it demanded isolation. You aligned with holiness when it made you misunderstood. That's why heaven whispered your name. That's why your presence shifts atmospheres even when you're silent. Because you are not just walking in a calling. You are walking in a divine selection that defied probability itself. But let's be honest, chosen one. When you carry something heaven has authorized, you also carry battles earth can't interpret. You've probably felt the invisible pressure, the fatigue that makes no sense, the resistance that comes out of nowhere. That's because every throne-approved calling triggers demonic surveillance. You've been monitored not because you're weak, but because you're critical to the kingdom's timeline. Hell studies you because heaven trusts you. Every delay, every betrayal, every misunderstanding, it's not random warfare. It's targeted interference against a throne room assignment. But here's the truth that keeps you standing. You're not fighting for victory, you're fighting from victory. Because once heaven stamps your mission, hell can only delay, never deny. That's why you keep bouncing back stronger. That's why what destroyed others only deepened your faith. You are being shaped into someone who can handle weighty revelation without pride, carry divine influence without corruption, and represent the kingdom without compromise. So if you're in warfare right now, don't see it as punishment, see it as confirmation. Because the level of opposition always reveals the level of approval. Chosen one, listen closely. Before time began, before light first broke the darkness, there was a decision. And your name was part of it. God looked across eternity, saw every generation, every nation, every soul, and still decided, this one, this spirit, must walk the earth in this season. That was not a casual choice. That was a throne decision. And no amount of human delay, demonic interference, or personal weakness can overturn it. You were chosen beyond probability, Because heaven doesn't calculate odds, heaven creates outcomes. You've already passed the standard. You've already proven your loyalty. And now, heaven is about to publicly validate what's been privately approved. Doors will open that your resume can't explain. Miracles will manifest in the ordinary. People will sense something divine around you and not know why. That's because you're walking in a calling that was already cleared by the throne. So walk boldly. You don't need permission from people when you've been commissioned by heaven. You don't need validation from earth when you've been verified by God. You are not an accident. You are not late. You are not behind. You are living proof that heaven still selects the improbable and turns them into unstoppable vessels of divine will. You're calling past the throne room standard. Your life is heaven's evidence that God still chooses those the world overlooks. And from this day forward, chosen one, walk with the awareness that every step you take is backed by eternal authority. You've been sealed, approved, and prepared. Now it's time to walk into what's already yours. Because the throne has spoken. And once heaven decides, it's final. Please like this video. You can support the channel through the link in the channel's bio. Your kindness helps us continue spreading light and love. God bless you.